economic countries have been doing in the last 10 years. We will begin by talking about Switzerland. Switzerland has had a very good last 10 years. Almost everything has gone right, economically, politically, and socially. Let's take a look at how Switzerland has done economically in the last 10 years. First of all, it is important to understand the nature of an economy before statistics are presented. Switzerland's economy is mostly based off of free market interactions and a very limited form of government in the economy. As I aforementioned, Switzerland is doing very good. Here I have graphed out the GDP growth rate.
Dun, 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 dun.
This middle line represents no growth. As you can see, the growth rate has fluctuated, but for the majority of the time remained above zero. Another interesting thing is that the growth rate is very large. Peaks are at 50% above for a single year. That is a phenomenal increase. Most countries only see fluctuations of 1 or 2%. On this next graph, we see the unemployment rate. The unemployment rate is low and has remained that way. The graph doesn't do it justice on just how low it is. It never even touches 5% and remains above 2.5% the entire time. This is good and it is a sign of a stable economy. And finally, we have inflation rate. It has actually gone down significantly and gone below zero. This is good because it means everybody has more money in the economy. And there is no inflation, so that's good too. Also, this represents the accuracy of the GDP growth rate, which has been constant and accurate. And that is how Switzerland has been doing the past 10 years. Now, moving on to Big Z, catching some Z's.
Oh, roll it up. Thanks for throwing me the ball, Ben. I'm here to report on the recent economic standard that we see in Germany. Has just been touched by my good Ben. Germany's doing pretty good as well, having decent growth in GDP and a steady decline in both unemployment and inflation rates. Germany has a decent GDP per capita, climbing $10,000 in the past 10 years. A decent raise. However, not amazing, the GDP certainly has its boost. Growth has only dipped below 0% once in 2009. Currently holding about a 2% growth rate. The great dip was it was due to Germany's great export-reliant economy and the collapse of the Lehman Brothers. But they were quickly able to recover, so it wasn't a big deal. Next, we take a quick look at unemployment, which is an ever so slight decrease every year since 2005, dropping to a low point of 4.9%, recently lowest since 1982. A great thing to look forward to if you're not employed in Germany. Inflation has also seen a decent decline, 1.55% to 0.23%, without seeing any deflation in the economy. The rate has been pretty steady, not climbing or falling very much, and das ist gut. Now passing the ball, the small little J, it's in your court now.
Thanks for the spotlight, Zenon. I'm here to report to you the current state of the economy in the United States and how amazing we are. The United States economy has been doing quite well over the past 10 years, in every category that is talked about today. The United States economy is known as a mixed economy, in which private property rights, freedom of choice, and competition dominate. Let's start with one of the main points of an economy, the GDP per capita along with the growth rate. As seen by this graph, the GDP per capita has been on a steady incline over the past 10 years, with a hiccup right around the year of 2009. However, besides that, the United States GDP per capita has been growing at a constant rate, around 3.5%. According to economic studies, it isn't good if a country isn't growing, but also if a country is growing extremely fast. It has been shown that sitting around a growth rate of 3 to 4% is good for an economy, and based off this information, the United States is in a pretty good state. Moving on to other economic things, let's talk about the unemployment rate in the United States. According to many economists, full employment in a country occurs around 5% unemployment and is represented by the dashed line on this Keynesian aggregate supply curve. Currently, the United States is sitting around 6.17%, just higher than the 5% goal. This means that possibly in the near future, the Fed will be lowering interest rates and buying bonds in order to bring this number down. However, for right now, it's not too bad. Looking at the last 10 years, the United States unemployment rate has been fluctuating, starting at around 5.07% in 2005 and growing to peak high of 9.62% in 2010. However, since then, the unemployment rate has been steadily decreasing, showing good signs for the United States economy. So all in all, the United States economy is looking good, and we're still amazing. Now, faxing it over to the Norwegian region, here's Joe.
I don't know why I said that. Nobody faxes anymore. But I mean, I guess I'd be in Norway, which is really just my room, which I probably need to clean up. But you know what doesn't need cleaning up? Norway's economy. They've been doing very well for the last decade. In fact, their GDP has been rising at a very steady rate since 2006-ish. Before that, I couldn't find any data, but oh well. They actually started at about $34 billion, and that was in 2006. And in 2014, they have increased their GDP for the nation overall to be over $500 billion, which is doing quite well, if you ask me. And you should, because I'm doing the presentation. But their GDP per capita has also increased by almost double the amount since 2004. They had $56,000 per capita GDP per capita in 2004, and by 2013 they have almost $101,000 GDP per capita. Norway's unemployment has not gone over 4.6%, but the trend line seems to be implying that in the next couple years or so this will happen. And the only area of decline that I've seen in the past decade is in 2009, where they experienced a negative 1.6 growth in GDP. And the year before, they had actually encountered a record high inflation rate, which I know sounds stupid, but it's only 3.77% increase. And besides this, they have an average inflation rate of around 2%, and in 2004 they actually had a low of 0.47%. So now you're all caught up to date. Yay.